Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? Great. All right. Well, obviously, turning the page for us, getting ready. We got a good weekend here planned. Appreciate everybody, obviously, with the change of schedule, but just wanted to make sure we gave the players the day off yesterday. Brought them in this morning, kind of grinded through the tape from the game. And then, we really actually have to move on to install and kind of keep teaching the rest through training camp as we move into different situations of football, making sure we're covering those, add on some different packages that we use, and, just continuing to take advantage of training camp as much as possible. So it'll be a good couple of days of practice here. We'll try to get as much in as possible. You'll see a lot of, just kind of football type, move the field type, team periods. So we'll transition from first, second, third down, mixing the special teams. We still get some fundamental technique work because we still obviously got a lot of improvement and a long way to go there. So we'll kind of continue along that path and just, excited to get out there and just stay at it and keep working. So it's kind of Groundhog Day for us. We're just out there trying to get better. So.
With the idea that it's not as good as you think it is or as bad as you think it is, when you actually went through the tape, what were some positives that you could take as building blocks going forward?
Yeah, great question. Because it's true. You go back and forth. Obviously, the score wasn't where we want it to be and all that. But when you look at some of the things from an evaluation standpoint of some of the guys, out on the field, definitely thought there was some improvement with some of the players out there, and guys like Killebrew and Jalen Rees-Maben, who some of those guys really I thought stepped up into some roles that maybe they hadn't had an opportunity to showcase before, and I thought that was really good. That was making the most of their opportunities. We might have talked a little bit after the game about the running back situation with Ty. I thought that was pretty good too. There was probably some good interior blocks that maybe didn't get showcased enough because maybe some of the other blocks around it weren't good enough for kind of where, the situation of what that was. So there's definitely some positives in there. There was good football. We went through that this morning. Just unfortunately for us, it was just too much bad football, and that's what we said we got to eliminate and we got to go through and just explain to everybody, what it's got to be when we go out there and we perform in the game and what our expectations are.
Coach, generally when you bring in a quarterback late like we have with Josh Johnson, specifically with him too, what do you try to do with him right away, and why Josh Johnson? It's always difficult to bring a quarterback in kind of mid-training camp. So one of the things we try to look for is any sort of familiarity with players that we bring in. Quarterbacks really doesn't matter. It's quarterbacks, linebackers, could be anything that's a communication piece. And, he spent time with our quarterbacks coach down in Houston. So they have a great working relationship down there, and just knowing Josh as a person and competing and in that world, it was just kind of an easy sort of. We brought him in, brought a couple guys in, worked him out, and someone that we thought would really be able to kind of step in mid stride here and go, because we have a couple competitive days here and then we go to Houston. So it's a tight turnaround, but being that familiarity with a player like him and his caliber, and he started the last 3 games last season for Washington, so he's played and been in the kind of the mix here. So it was just kind of that was kind of a priority you look for from that standpoint, and then we'll progress from there. I think it's a good question as far as practice. I think it's you got to be realistic about what you're going to ask someone that just got in here today to do today, and but look, it's part of the business. It's what it is, and he's got to go out and we'll just evaluate it as we go. But certainly, the good part is with somebody that there's a previous relationship with one of the coaches, which is always kind of the a thing that we look for in these type of situations.
Is that as much institutional knowledge as he has, like of the NFL, having been so many places,
Yeah.
been around for so long? Like, how does that help? Just prepare.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a guy that's obviously been put in a situation where he knows how to approach that at a high level and understand kind of the requirements or the work or the just the amount of catch up that needs to be done with that. And he's been doing that most recently. So that's one of the things when we talked to Sean about it in particular. His approach to be able to get caught up to speed as fast as possible was a big factor for us. Tom Savage he's in protocol, yes.
Is Terrell Crosby also?
Crosby, has an injury right now that I'm not going to comment on. Just kind of like, in general, we're kind of in evaluation process there, and I'll just kind of leave that one at that.
Hey, Coach, when you practice with a team, I know this is from the Giants last year. When you practice with a team for 3 days and you play the game, is there a little bit of mental letdown with the players on the game compared, because they practiced with these same guys for the last 3 days before that?
Yeah.
And that was the Giants opening last year. Maybe what's going to happen this week?
It's always
you certainly from our perspective, like that's not what we want. That's not what we're looking for, and we got to be able to push through some of those situations, most certainly. And I don't think it's a situation where we're not going into the game emotionally ready to go. We got to go out and execute better. It is a different type of week though than a normal regular season week where you're in highly competitive situations for 2 or 3 days in a row, and then you go play a game in another highly competitive situation. That's a lot as far as stamina and turnaround and focus, and sometimes there's changes and things like that. So that's part of it. It's a good evaluation piece though for us. That's all part of the process of what we look at to say, all right, hey, this is a really tough week, but we know that going in, and we got another really tough one coming up, and there's going to be another element added into it with practicing down in Texas and the heat and kind of the adjustment there and travel. So for us, it's all part of the process. Our first game is away, so we're going to have to learn how to travel well and go down and prepare and get ready to play a game. No different than when we travel to go to Houston and we have to get up the next morning and go compete. So all of those things I think for us are really important, and we do actually talk about those things as a team of what our preparation needs to be every single day and then every single week. Yep.
Matt, I just want to go back to Crosby real quick because he played the whole game and whatever. I was told that he was in concussion protocol because when did he suffer his injury? Whatever it is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the reason I think for us, we always obviously evaluate our players after the game and make sure we have injury checks on that stuff, and he's someone that we're evaluating right now and going through that process. So we'll leave it from that standpoint, kind of in those words. I think if any player's shown signs of anything, an ankle, a knee, whatever it is, we're always very attentive to our players. We're very conscious of them being able to be out in the field and perform. So we do the best we can with it. But like I said, we're no specifics as far as that's concerned. There was two coming here.
Trey Flowers, a veteran player, so his situation is obviously probably a little bit different, missing camp than a young rookie or whatever. But how good is it to get a guy back who obviously is going to be a big part of kind of what you guys do?
Sure. Well, it's great, and there'll be a process to getting him back. It's again, it's crazy. I think we're 13 practices in. That's it. So on one end, it seems like it's been a long time. On the other end, 13 practices before used to be done in about 6 days. So there's still a lot of camp left. So we got to be able to work him back into the mode of getting ready to go and do everything possible to acclimate him to where we are. Obviously, the rest of the team is a little bit further advanced from the physical standpoint of being out there every single day and working on the techniques and fundamentals. And just like the rest of us, he's a guy that hasn't played a game in a long time. He hasn't really been out there in a long time, so he's going to have to start from scratch like all of us and go from there. But it is good to have just another guy out there on the field that is a great professional, works hard. His example of work ethic is outstanding, and that'll help us as we push through the rest of camp. We had one. I don't want to skip. I know you had a question.
So with Tom Savage being in concussion protocol, this being the third time in 4 years, how much does that play into what his spot will be on this team and in terms of keeping him around, I guess? Yeah,
I think I don't really comment on those situations. We go day by day with it, and I let the people that are trained professionally handle all that, and we'll obviously do everything we can to just do everything that's whatever's best for the situation.
Going down both from an experience perspective and versatility perspective. Young guys you got on the roster compete for the position. You have guys that maybe have some of that similar position flex, being able to play in slot and outside?
Yeah, great question. I think just in general with Kirsch, just kind of talking about him, great guy, unbelievable professional, has that ability to have that position flex and that comfort level right away, and just obviously a great player, but a great person. So that was obviously I felt very stuck from my point where I couldn't get out there and get out and see him at that point. So that was really kind of tough from that standpoint, but unbelievable guy. We've been talking nonstop and just obviously big part of what we've been doing so far. I think the other part of it is all of those guys out there in the wide receiver position, we do try to cross-train as many as we can to have position flex and position, alignment abilities. So, whatever it is at that point, we'll just keep kind of rolling with those other guys to go out and compete, and we'll see what happens from there. But certainly, I think in general on the team, one of the things we always preach, no matter what the position is versatility. And the more versatility that you have, the more value you can add to the team. That's always what we're looking for.
Just to be clear, why you're why you changed practice today
Yep.
and tomorrow. Is that, I guess, why?
Yeah,
Is it just
sure.
a workout thing or
Yeah.
something?
Nope,
or-
it's easy. No worries. So, player day off yesterday. I really wanted to take time and go through the film this morning. So we actually had a good, like 2 hours this morning where we grinded through the tape. We had too much tape on defense to watch, so it took us a little bit of time to go through all that stuff. That was a big part of it, and then obviously trying to make sure everyone's hydrated, has proper nutrition. So we put the a little bit of a noon break in there for fuel and lunch and all the rest of it, and then really just turned the script and then went back at it as another kind of call it a new day. Call it a Monday after a game and then flipping into maybe a Wednesday morning kind of in our world as we kind of look at things. So had a great install meeting this afternoon, got to some more fundamental technique tape, which was good for us. And then we'll go out and practice that here this afternoon. When you practice in the afternoon, it kind of shortens your night meetings a little bit. So a lot of that film that you want to watch the night before and kind of the schedule that we were on before, we'll grind through the practice tape. Where we had longer afternoon meetings and then night meetings in training camp before, we were able to install for the next day the night before, which gives our players a little bit of a chance to study. Plus, we practiced early. When we flexed practice to the afternoon, I just want to be conscious of that tomorrow is an install day. So we do have work to go over. So I want to make sure we have proper time in the morning to, install, go through that with the players. And then just really the other part of it for me was with our schedule right now, being able to practice in the afternoon, really shorten the time, with Monday being a player day off and then Tuesday practice, but we got to travel and then, putting the pads back on Wednesday, just trying to make sure there wasn't too much of a layover between practice time from that standpoint. So it just kind of worked out better.
What are the factors to determining what guys need to play preseason games and what guys don't, especially, or how has that kind of evolved over the years, especially
Yeah.
given Curtis is a veteran?
Well, it's definitely evolved. I mean, I think, I'm gonna make sure I get this right, but if you go back long enough in maybe the 80s or whatever, it used to be your stars would play a quarter the first game, they'd play 2 quarters the second, they'd play 3 quarters the third, they'd play 4 quarters the fourth. That, again, it has evolved. So we've just moved into situations where with practices and being able to have opportunities to work against other teams, you're trying to monitor reps, you're trying to get in the reps that you think are important. There's a definite process to playing in a preseason game that's important to get ready for the regular season game. I think whether you take, 4 snaps, 5 snaps, or 50 snaps, there's a mental preparation and emotional preparation that you need to go through and you need to prepare for from that standpoint. And we tell everyone on the team that's what we're all going to do, and we'll decide how much we'll play in the game based on whether it's the week of work that we've already done or maybe it might be that particular game. And certainly you have plans for that and you try to adjust and build as you go through the preseason. It may depend on travel, may depend on how much you had gotten through the course of the week, and it may depend on your team competition and where you're looking at other positions to really see maybe some guys go out and compete. And I also think it just depends on if it's a conditioning thing too. We want to try to get some live game reps. And certainly, again, the game itself, special teams, some of the speed plays of the game that you can't simulate in practice, you take those reps as much as you can get them just so that when you get to that first game, it's not a shock to those guys because it's just a whole different level. And certainly, those games when you get to the regular season, the speed and all the rest of it increases as you go. So it's all part of the training process. Okay. All right. Thanks.